So everybody's wanting to know whether or not Rise of the Tomb Raider is going to be on the PlayStation 4. And so in this video, we're going to cover a few things you probably have heard, but we're going to cover some stuff that you probably haven't heard as well. So I know a lot of people are covering this story, but I'm going to give you an angle, as always, that hopefully you haven't heard from anybody else. So first off, everybody's freaking out this week because Microsoft is publishing Rise of the Tomb Raider. And so all the news outlets kind of like wound it back up into the news, even though really we've known about this since right after E3. I mean, it was said then that Microsoft was publishing it, but I guess, you know, some people forget. I have a terrible memory, so I'm not faulting them for that. But it got brought back up this week because somebody tweeted Aaron Greenberg and asked him about it, and he said, yes, Microsoft is publishing Rise of the Tomb Raider. So everybody started asking the question again, especially since, you know, Sony pulled out the whole Street Fighter deal and said it's exclusive for PlayStation 4. So everybody's wanting to know more about the Tomb Raider deal. So back at E3, we heard that it was exclusive on the Xbox this holiday 2015. So that got people to talking about it or whatever. There were a few death threats sent. There was a number of petitions, which if there were some on Street Fighter, I totally missed out on that. I'm not sure where the death threats or the petitions were. But anyway, it was announced that it was then a timed exclusive after everybody freaked out. But nobody knows the details of that. You know, how timed is it? Is it 3 months? Is it a year? You know, is it 5 years like Mass Effect was or something? Does timed mean simply that it's going to other platforms like the PC and still not the PlayStation, or what's the dealio? So anyway, I think that there may be at least some clues, but in order to do that, we're going to pull a little back to the future and go back to some interviews that happened a while ago that were pretty big, that I don't think got a lot of attention. So Microsoft, Phil Spencer, doing the rounds, doing the interviews. He was talking to Eurogamer, and let me quote you a few things as to what he said about this deal. This was after it was announced that it was a timed exclusive. So he says, when you start looking at franchises out there, the one I draw an analogy to is Dead Rising. Our partnership with Capcom around Dead Rising has been good for Dead Rising. We've been able to invest and to raise, maybe it's a bit egotistical, the notoriety of the franchise. So what he's saying is that Dead Rising is a bigger game because of Microsoft. So I'm not saying that he's right, I'm just saying what he's saying. So Crystal has been investing in that game, and Square has as well, in Tomb Raider as a franchise. And wanting to put it at the highest level with the big AAA franchises out there, that's expensive. For us, we've been working together on this. It's a nice franchise for us in the terms of the genre and how it fits into our first-party portfolio. Do I wish I had an owned IP first-party action-adventure game? Absolutely. But I don't right now. This is one that fits well, and we had such a good working relationship with them. And they want to build that game up to the same level as any huge AAA game out there. It used to be a big dominant game. Crystal has done a great job in rebuilding it since 2009 when they first kickstarted it, but continuing to invest at that level, it takes a partnership. When people look around at something like Dead Rising and where it's at right now, I would say for the franchise, it's been a good partnership. Now maybe somebody on PlayStation would say, well, no it hasn't, because I haven't played that game. But if I'm Capcom, and I think about what that franchise means now, or even like Titanfall and our ability to invest with EA to make that launch great, Tomb Raider is no different. And you remember why he might have mentioned Titanfall, it's because it's been said before more than once that Titanfall wasn't going to get made unless Microsoft opened their checkbook. Sony wasn't willing to invest in that, so Microsoft did. Now he goes on, and I think this is the important part, or could be a potentially important part. Now obviously, if I'm going to partner on it, I'm a platform holder. I'm hardly going to invest to go make the PlayStation version of any game. It's a business. So when we invest with a partner on a big franchise, we're going to come in with certain needs we have out of the relationship. But the thing people should take away is it's been a relationship we've built over many years, and the partnership has been strong, and we want to make that franchise great. But if we're going to do that, there are certain things to us as a platform holder we're going to do. Now, he mentions repeatedly in this interview, even though I don't believe I quote him here, but he does say that their partnership goes back to '09, and he says they've been on stage at with Microsoft since, forever. So basically he's saying that this isn't something that they just, decided to do just one day out of the blue. He said this has been something that they've talked about for a while. He goes on to say, and again, I think this is pretty important, I don't own the IP. So then when certain people start talking about, well, what is the future of the Tomb Raider franchise, it's not really something I can talk to. Just like if you're going to ask me what's going on with Dead Rising 6. I don't own that. So when people want me to say, well, can you tell us when or if it's coming to other platforms? That's not my job. My job is not to talk about games I don't own. I have a certain relationship on this version of Tomb Raider, which we announced, and I feel really good about our long-term relationship with Crystal and Square. They've seen what we can do with certain games that aren't ours. Rise is another IP. I don't own the Rise IP, but I was able to invest with Crytek to turn it into a franchise, which isn't easy to do for a studio on their own. I don't own it. They just announced it for PC, and certain people throw stones at me and say, you shouldn't let it go out on PC. I'm like, look, I want Crytek to make money. I want Crytek to be successful. Why would I ever block them from doing something with a game they own? So I'm sure that he's at least speaking honestly in the fact that he doesn't want Crytek to not make any money, because this is a partnership deal now, so they're business partners. So you don't want your business partner to go under, which is very interesting, because if you think back about all the quotes, and I've said this a lot too, I said expect to see more Microsoft Xbox games on the PC. I don't think that's going to go away. And if you listen to what both Nadella and Phil Spencer have been saying, they've been saying that they are going to start pushing PC more and that they were going to work more with PC. So this is one deal where they can open up their checkbook and say, look, you're not just going to see sales on the Xbox One, even though you will for a limited period of time, but eventually we'll open it up and let you also put it on Microsoft Windows. So let's go ahead and flash forward to this week. Square Enix reiterated, our partnership with Microsoft on Rise of the Tomb Raider does have a duration, but we aren't discussing those details at this time and are focused on collaborating to deliver a great game on Xbox One and Xbox 360. So again, a lot of people read this and they say, look, they keep on mentioning that it's timed, that it's timed, that it's timed. Looks like if Microsoft was going to say that this is a console exclusive, they would just come out there and say that, right? Maybe they are, and we're just not listening. So let's go on to what Microsoft also put out just today or yesterday. To further clarify Aaron Greenberg's tweet yesterday, Microsoft will be publishing Rise of the Tomb Raider on Xbox. Similar to how we worked with Capcom on Dead Rising 3 or Harmonix on Dance Central. We're very excited to partner with the amazing team at Crystal Dynamics to bring Rise of the Tomb Raider in holiday 2015 exclusively to Xbox. Both our team and the Xbox community are huge fans of the franchise, and we can't wait to share more on the game in the future. So here is what could be a potentially strong argument for it not coming to PS4 at least anytime soon. They keep on mentioning, Phil was mentioning it, Microsoft representatives are mentioning it, Dead Rising 3 and Dance Central. Dead Rising 3 eventually came to the PC. Rise was another game that Microsoft invested in that helped make, that they made it exclusive for a while but then brought it to the PC. Dance Central is a game that requires Kinect and currently only appears on Xbox 360 and Xbox One. Now, I'm not saying that these games like Dead Rising 3 aren't going to ever be on PlayStation 4. Maybe they come out eventually with a game that has all the DLC and they then put it out on the PS4. Or maybe they have a deal where, like Phil keeps on saying, they don't own the IP. They don't own Tomb Raider. They don't own Dead Rising, so they can't tell the developers to build another game. Or they can't say, if you do build another game, that our contract on this game, you know, is carried over or anything. So he's saying, I don't own the IP, but I'm not going to invest in any game on another platform. On a competitive platform. PC, most people are playing PC games on Windows, so it's a win-win for Microsoft. So, does that mean that it's never coming to PS4? I am not saying that. With everything that has come out, the fact is we still have no idea and nobody can say for any certainty whether or not Tomb Raider will ever see the light of day on PlayStation. But a lot of people are going to ask, Dragon, why wouldn't they just come out and say, look, this is only going to be able to be played on the Xbox console. It's going to be exclusive to this console. They could come out there and say that, right? Yeah, they could. But if they would have done that, would we be talking about it right now? Again, I'm not saying that this is a case for it never coming to PlayStation, but I am playing devil's advocate because you know what they say about marketing. There's no such thing as bad publicity. As long as we're still talking about it, as long as it's still on the back of people's mind, whenever they first start seeing trailers or whatever, people are still going to wonder, where can I get it? Well, right now, the only place to get it that you know of is on the Xbox One or the Xbox 360. So, there are some benefits to not saying anything. What does it do for them by coming out and saying anything? And I mean, who knows? Maybe they come out tomorrow, maybe they come out right after I put up this video and they do say what exactly the deals are or the terms is in the contract that they have with Square and Crystal. But right now, there's really no need to for them. If you're in their shoes, they don't care if you don't know. It just keeps them in the news cycle, and it keeps you reminded that there's a Tomb Raider game on the way. So anyway, again, not saying either way whether it's coming or not. Post below, I want to know, what do you think? Do you think it's going to eventually come? Do you think it's never going to come to PS4? What do you think is going to happen with Rise of the Tomb Raider? As always, if you want to read these stories that I mentioned, links down in the description box. Hey, if you enjoyed this commentary, you thought it was a different take than maybe some of the other videos you've watched or the articles you've read, then definitely let me know with that like button. And that does it for me, The Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.